Hello, everyone. This is Chala, Dincoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert, coming to you with another edition of my podcast, Naked Marketing, where we get really real and honest about our marketing mistakes. My next guest is Craig Neal, the collaborator. I love that branding. Tell us, Craig, first of all, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Chala. I appreciate it.
So tell these lovely folks who are listening and watching, what is it that you do for a living and who is it that you help?
Okay, great. Well, as you introduced me, I am Craig Neal, the collaborator. And what I essentially do, I collaborate with leaders of organizations and their people to enhance their collective performance. But, as we had spoken before, my why is more essential, particularly in the service industry. Commoditization is killing us. And when you have a lawyer looking like a lawyer, a doctor looking like a doctor, the manufacturing company looking like another, manufacturing 5 blocks, organization 5 blocks down the road, where's the distinction? And so without distinction, it becomes a pricing thing, or these decisions of, should we work with them, or what should we purchase is based off of price.
Yeah.
Different. So I spend most of my time, working with, executive and senior leaders, working to enhance, their understanding of that, how important it is. And, in today's market, where we have, the talent crisis, if you want to call it that, it's really an organization's crisis, because people actually have, a little bit more leverage, and it should never have gotten there. So I work in the areas of course, executive advisory, culture and organizational development, process improvement, and of course, positioning. And, I do that. I also have a suite of companies that I introduce to assist with some of that tactical and implementation stuff, because that's where the secret sauce is, the implementation.
So tell us how you came to, have this company. Well, these companies, were you a corporate employee in the past? And I know because we talked before, but tell our audience what your background was.
Well, my background, actually, in education, accounting and computer science. However, I started this business almost 25 years ago, Chala. And, for your audience, I'm not that old. But I got with it quite early on. And so I was always interested in, exploring how things worked, or more importantly, the why. Why did she say that? What makes people tick, and why do we make the choices? Systems fail, but people don't. So, I always, found it, my responsibility, having, I put the work in to learn a lot of stuff, right? So where, my classmates and, other folks within, I would call contemporaries, they spent their time, doing recreational things. I spent my time studying and analyzing. And so my corporate chops, I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I went to a school called Jones Metropolitan High School of Business and Commerce. And it was a junior and senior high school that, the guys wear their, jackets, suits and ties, and the ladies had to wear dresses and, flats or heels. And the curriculum was, sure, it followed the guidelines of what school was about, but they were more focused on industry related careers. So, I chose accounting, of course, and our co-ops or internships were not with Payless and Pizza Hut. They were with, large organizations. I was able to get in with the Northern Trust Company, very prestigious, privately held bank. From there, I kind of learned the ropes of, the corporate world, different departments, different buildings, different locations. And then I was an asset analyst. So, I would develop a lot of things on my free time. And my insight, or at least my outside perspective, and my ability to retain information and then regurgitate it, but not regurgitate best practices, as a lot of folks in my industry like to say, oh, well, this is what worked here or there. No, what's working here? So, I'm able to, of course, have the history and the understanding of what happened over there, but the ability to really, decode and decipher what's happening here and how can we raise that bar, not just fix the problem. So, I started a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely vouch for this, folks, that I have never met anyone who has done so much deep research on me before becoming a guest on this show. In fact, when you did most of the research, you hadn't even agreed to become a guest. You were just meeting, just a meet and greet. So super impressive, super great. I mean, I do it, but you went even further than I did, which is most people do. So kudos to you. And I can definitely see why that's a strength of yours.
Well, hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, it helps that, we do have a market research and focus group firm, so I can get data when I want it. But more importantly, I like to know who I'm communicating with. That's why LinkedIn's a great tool. I think that's how we met.
Yeah.
And you can vouch for this, in sales or, when you're communicating with, different people, it's great to look at their faces.
Yeah.
Or getting insight to what's going on, not just for your advantage. So you can, say, hey, great, how's your kids' college? That cliche crap, but really understand, is this something, or is this a person that I'd like to learn more about? How can we help one another? And so, yeah, I always do my due diligence. I'm guarded, but not so much in the sense of, being open to share things. But I purge like 30 LinkedIn connections every month.
You're telling me, that's fascinating. That's so fascinating.
So, if you're just talking the talk and not walking the walk,
yeah,
sorry, it's not a great fit. We have to actually meet or have some kind of interaction, to really solidify that connection.
I know. So tell us about your marketing. I mean, you are a marketer, you have marketing companies. So this has got to be a slam dunk for you. Tell me how you use all those tools to get new clients.
Okay. Well, about 10 years ago, Chala, and I'm glad you asked that question. And this may not be for everyone, but it worked for me. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, previously, I do a lot of things, or I know how to do it, not just, the technical bits of it. I know how to actually implement it. And so at one point, I don't believe in jack of all trades, right? I think that's an overused word, or master at none. No, I specifically spend my time mastering subjects that, are interesting to me. But back in the day, I used to be, hey, I'm Craig, and here are all my companies, and this is what we're going to do. Here's the whole platter, without really assessing whether or not there were projects that I wanted to take on. I only take on about 3 projects a year.
Yeah, you were saying.
I'm very selective, and I've always been that way. But it's in regard to your question, how do I find people? Yeah. So I'm a master prospector. And as I'm going through, research, understanding different, regions, looking at industries and pinpointing companies, I'm able to identify if there's a need, at least from the surface. And, some deeper things, we have, one of our trademark approaches, covert instinct, gives us access similar to that of a undercover boss, if you will. Yeah. But that's for another that's for another topic.
Oh yeah.
So we can get insights right on the ground if we need. But I meet people through, chamber events, trade associations, even if they're not respective to, way outside of my industry, because I'm industry agnostic. If you have people, if you have an organization that is, ready for some, to take on some significant change, or if you have an organization where you're not sure, which way you should go. Should you, push the boundaries and position yourself well, or should you kind of pull back and focus on the fundamentals? I'm your guy, and I would, I collaborate. But again, being selective. The other thing is, I have a great referral network. A lot of folks who, take the time to get to know me. That's why I'm, again, at LinkedIn, mentioning was like, if we're not having, even virtually, that's fine. But if we're not having a conversation other than you just having a connection and a list of all of the people that I know, so I vet people out, things that are out of my purview, so obviously I'm not an attorney. So, I have a few attorneys, who specialize in things that I can actually refer my clients to. And in turn, it comes back to me, we're a great referral base. But with, when I go to these trade associations or, do, some form of networking.
Yeah.
I'm not going there looking to grab a client. I would say that for everyone. You shouldn't be going there to look for, your next, big, bulk of business. You should be going there to learn from people. I test out all of my intellectual property. If I say to you, change your condition to change your position, what does that mean to you? Do you get it? Does it resonate? And I'll mix it up. Everyone I meet with, if that's my specific goal, I'll change it up, because some people can't change their condition to change their position.
Right.
It's my trademark, and that's how I use that, it's an approach, but it's mine. And even, within, the social media that I choose, I'm not, placing call to actions there and wanting to filter things in. I just carved away the stuff that I didn't want to do and found a way to do what I want to do more, effectively and, basically through selection.
So tell me how long you spend on average each day on LinkedIn. Is it you or is it a team?
I have Craig Neal, the collaborator, a business page, where basically I just reshare, things that, may be relevant to the brand. And then I have my personal LinkedIn. And yes, they're associated. I would say I wouldn't spend more than maybe 30 minutes.
A day. Average.
Yeah, maybe a day if, and maybe that's all social media, combined. And it's very important, for people to, I think it's important for folks not to worry about likes, right? Worry about the interactions, the comments, right? So then you can start dialogue. People have an opportunity to see, okay, well, where are you, where do you stand in respect to what you're posting, and I post original content. I'll like stuff, or, give kudos or, jump in on a conversation, but really, having original content allows you to express yourself, authentically. And that's what we really need to do, which goes back to that commoditization, thing that I was talking about.
Yeah. So tell us about your biggest marketing mistake. Let's get to the naked marketing portion of the podcast.
Oh boy. All right, cool. So that's why I wore like an undershirt and everything, because
Layers.
All right, let's get to it. Let's see. This is like the 90s. 90s leaning into 2000. So from my old school perspective, it was always great to have some leave behind material or mail out things, right? With, postage, or, if you had to FedEx something to get it there fast, great. But, most times I would, carry about 5 or 6 brochures and my business cards, and, they're just, in my world, they're marketing tools, right? It's like, okay, I left this behind. Oh, shoot, there's that Craig Neal again, or whatever the company was. I made one of the gravest mistakes, Chala, in thinking that I could do it all and express it all and everyone would get it.
Right.
As I said before, I'm very technical and very particular. Like, I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist because nothing's perfect, right? But I like to have control of what I do. So in the early days, if you didn't have, and we didn't have like these printing companies online, you can just, make business cards or whatever. So I actually took a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, folded it in 4, and I made, 5.5 by 4 1/4 little brochure.
Yeah.
And it was, front to back, it ended up being like 16 pages. I went to this very costly and expensive printer because my stuff has to be the best stuff. It's going to look good. I promise you that. So, I spent like $3,000 or $4,000 on, maybe like 200 or 300 of them. So do the math, and there was going to be, my special print. They made some special die cast cuts, and it was great. I looked at it and I marveled. I think I have the original. This was the prototype that I was putting together, and I was like, okay, yeah, television, because I was talking about traditional marketing and, digital marketing, because we hadn't quite crossed that line yet, like where we are today. And I keep these little things because it reminds me, and also the reminder of the mistake. Yeah. So I spent all this money. I spent like 3 weeks really putting this together and all the writing to ultimately have a client tell me, hey, you know what, you have the business, but let me tell you, Craig, why did you hand me a manual?
Right. I love it.
And I was flexing my intellectual, muscle and like, yeah, hey, I'm superb. And, here's the breakdown of traditional, billboards or whatever, the offering was, right? And why you should do it. No one was paying attention to my message. Though I was flexing good, I really wasn't focusing on my target. I'm glad I got the business, and some obviously I lost. We ended up burning the entire box of them because it was like 16 pages. Someone going through that, to get to the point was not my best move.
I love it. Craig, you know what? You really got naked there. I have to congratulate you.
I'm being honest. I don't do that anymore. Now, obviously we're digital. So if someone hands me something like, when we go to these networking things and they hand me like a 8.5 by 11 with all their information on it, I said, you know what, why don't you just email me? Yeah. Why are we carrying these things when we're digital? And, a good flex move is when someone says, oh, can you just print out something or send it to me? I said, what age are you living in? And I'll tell them like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. So then, okay, what parting advice do you have on marketing for all our viewers and listeners?
Okay. So, marketing is the name of the game. Marketing, creates the need, right? No one knows who you are, unless you go tell them who you are or show them in some way or another. And sales, understanding that sales just provides different channels in which someone can acquire that need that you've created, right? And some people, of course, everyone knows what they want. They don't know what they need. So for, the audience or anyone, checking, this video out, keep in mind, the thing that's going to really help you, acquire some form of success that you can be happy with is being authentic, finding a way to identify who you really are in the mix or who your organization is in the mix. I mean, obviously that's my bag, organizational development and all that stuff, but we have to express it some way. And that's going to help you not just to acquire clients or customers, but it's also going to help you attract the right type of people. And so if they're aligned with your authenticity, and it's true to form, when they actually, join or sign up for, what you're offering, then you got a winning recipe. So I encourage everyone, take a break. Don't worry, the world's going to keep going. It's time that we're chasing, not dollars. So use your time right, retool, get back to the fundamentals, and identify what is, what is your secret recipe.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Craig, how do people reach you?
Well, yeah, reach me direct. You can visit me at CraigNeal, CraigNeal.com. You go to the contact page and you can book a discovery session with me if you'd like. You can go direct to calendly.com/Craig Neal and choose I do video too. So, you'll find me.
Oh, I'm sure they will find you. We will have you tagged everywhere. Thank you so much for being a guest, Craig.
Hey, thank you very much, Chala. Hey, have a great session after this one. And thanks for having me on the show.
My pleasure.